Hey guys, tonight we're marching straight into chaos. No armor, no training, no second chances. You're waking up in a damp canvas tent, the floor is wet with yesterday's rain and someone else's blood, and your whole body feels like it's already been hit by a horse. There's shouting outside, metal clanging, the thick smell of sweat, smoke, and something worse. Today's the day you die. And no, you won't survive this, because medieval war isn't about honor or glory. It's about panic, heat, screaming, and swinging a blade until your arms give out and your stomach empties from fear. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if slow and gentle storytelling is truly your thing. And while you're here, drop a comment below. Where are you listening from? And what time is it right now? I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You blink awake as the war horn moans through the fog, low, long, and gut-wrenching. It's still dark. Your eyes sting. The air is thick with smoke and something worse, something metallic, damp, and rotting. You don't know what time it is, only that your heart is already racing and your tongue is dry as leather. You're lying on a bedroll that might have once been hay, now more mold than straw. The wool blanket tangled around your legs is damp and crusted with mud, or maybe blood, you don't ask. Your boots are off. Bad idea. You reach for them in the cold mud and slide your feet in, one toe at a time, wincing as the wet leather clamps down on yesterday's blisters. Outside your tent, the world is coughing. Men are clearing their throats, groaning, muttering. One is quietly crying. Someone throws up not far from you. You hear it hit the ground with a wet slap. No one says anything. The army doesn't rise with the sun, it rises with the fear. You stand slowly, knees popping, back creaking. You're 23. You feel 70. Your tunic is stiff with dried sweat and the sour reek of fear sweat, a special kind of stink that only shows up when death feels close. The camp is alive now. Not awake, just alive, like a festering wound. Fires are rekindled with shaking hands. Bread is torn in silence. You chew without tasting it. It's yesterday's crust, hard as iron. You drink from a water skin and try not to gag. The water's warm. It smells like copper and horse. But you drink it anyway, because you need it more than you need answers. You see a man praying, another sharpening a blade that already looks cracked. One is digging through the mud for something he lost, maybe a coin, maybe a piece of himself. You don't ask. Your shoulders are already aching from yesterday's drills. Your sword, if you can call it that, is a chipped iron bar you can barely lift with both hands. Your shield is wood, warped, and smells like wet mushrooms. You strap it on anyway. This gear won't protect you, it just gives your body something to do while it waits. A commander walks by. He doesn't look at you. His armor is clean. His boots dry. His horse is well-fed and glossy. He calls you lads, but doesn't remember your names. He points toward the ridge and says one word, soon, soon. That word has weight now. It doesn't mean lunch. It means arrows, screaming, bones snapping, steel clanging against steel, or against teeth, or skull. You feel it in your stomach, the twist, the tightening. You clench your hands. They're trembling. You look at them and try to steady the fingers. It doesn't work. The truth is, you're not ready. And you won't be. No one is. You could train for months, swing 100 times a day, polish your blade until it blinds, and you'd still fall apart the first time a man tries to kill you for real. Because that's what's coming. Not sparring, not posturing, killing. You hear it now, the rustle of chainmail, the clank of helmets, the shrill whinny of a restless warhorse. Armor goes on in layers, padded undercoat, chain shirt, steel plates if you're lucky. You're not. You've got a padded jerkin with one buckle missing and a dented helm that smells like someone died in it. Maybe they did. You tie the straps anyway. You step outside the tent, and the fog is thicker now. You can barely see 10 feet, but you can hear everything. The crows overhead, already circling, the muttered prayers, the distant thud of hooves, and somewhere far beyond, the drums. They beat slow, rhythmic, like a funeral march that hasn't decided who's next. Your breath clouds the air. You look left and right. These men, your brothers in arms, they look just like you. Pale, hollow-eyed, jaw clenched. Some older, some younger. One barely looks 12. You don't speak. Words don't help. The formation begins. You fall into line. You're in the second row. Front row is for the suicidal or the brave hard to tell the difference. You hear your name shouted, mispronounced. You nod anyway. Doesn't matter. Today, your name might be carved on a plank by sundown. You check your belt dagger there, wet stone gone. Not that it matters. You won't have time to sharpen anything. It'll be swing, block, swing again, or die. Your captain is barking orders, they don't make sense. He says hold the line, but the line is just scared men clinging to a ditch full of cold water and even colder fear. You can't stop shaking. You look at your fingers again, still trembling. But here's the twist. Trembling isn't weakness. It's honesty. You're standing at the edge of something no one survives untouched. Not even the victors, and you're about to walk into it with eyes open and boots full of mud. And if you think this is the worst of it, just wait. Because in a few minutes, the arrows will start falling like rain. You hear them before you see them, a high-pitched whine, like angry insects slicing through the sky. Then silence, then screaming. The first volley of arrows doesn't hit you, not directly. They strike the front ranks with a soft, wet percussion meat and wood colliding, followed by the unmistakable noise of someone choking on their own blood. One man crumples like a dropped sack. Another stands for a second too long, blinking, until he slumps with a feathered shaft in his neck. You don't remember ducking. You just find yourself crouched, eyes wide, shield raised, heart thudding like a war drum in your chest. The next volley whistles lower. One arrow skims past your ears so close you hear the air split and buries itself in the dirt beside your foot. You don't breathe until you remember how. This is not cinematic. This is not that arching ballet you've seen in movies, lines of archers launching elegant curves of arrows across golden skies. Number. This is panic from above. You don't see them coming. You don't get heroic music. You just hear a sound, and suddenly someone next to you is coughing up their lungs. You grip your shield tighter. Your knuckles are white. The wood vibrates with every impact, and you swear it's about to split. It's already been used a dozen times, and you know it's not built to last another dozen. You glance at the man beside you. He's missing half his helmet and both his nerve. He's crying now, quietly. And honestly, you get it. Your sergeant is yelling. You don't hear what he says. Doesn't matter. His mouth moves. His face is red. His hands are waving. But the noise around you is too loud, too constant. Screams, clattering metal, the hideous thuds of men hitting the earth like meat dropped from a height. You step forward anyway. You're not brave, you just swept in the current. The line lurches forward like a drunk, uneven, staggering, already unraveling. Someone screams, "Loose formation." Someone else yells, "Tighten up." No one knows who to listen to. You just focus on staying upright. Then the second wave of arrows comes. This one lands closer, much closer. A man behind you collapses without a sound. You don't even see where he's hit. He's just down. Another cries out and drops his sword to clutch his thigh. Bad move. Before he can scream again, a third arrow finds his throat. He gurgles, falls backward. You don't look. You can't. You keep moving forward. And that's the trap. That's what makes this whole thing so much worse than you imagined. Because you thought the worst part would be fear, or pain, or even dying. It's not. It's moving forward through all of it. Through the fear, through the bodies, through the rain of iron, through the knowledge that the next arrow might be yours. And you still step forward, not because you want to, but because that's what's expected. Because stopping means being trampled, or left behind, or marked as a coward. And in the Middle Ages, that might be worse than death. You can't even tell where the arrows are coming from. There's fog, smoke, chaos. Somewhere far ahead, archers are reloading. Bowstrings stretch, fingers twitch. Dozens more shafts notch into place. You lift your shield again. A shadow passes overhead, not a bird. An arrow. You barely duck. It lodges in the ground just past your shoulder. You whisper something under your breath. A prayer? A curse? You're not sure. And then you notice something worse than the arrows. The silence between them. That brief pause when nothing flies. That's when you know it's time. You've entered the range of infantry. Soon, the arrows will stop. Not because mercy arrives, but because swords do. And to understand just how unforgiving that next part is, we need to talk about your armor. You thought armor would make you feel invincible, like some walking tank of medieval glory, clanking your way to conquest. But now that it's on you, you realize something very quickly. It's not protection, it's punishment. Let's start with the weight. Your chainmail alone clocks in at over 20 kilograms. Add a breastplate, maybe a backplate if you're lucky. Helmet, greaves, gauntlets, congratulations. You're wearing a full adult human strapped to your skeleton. Every step is a negotiation. Every breath, a labor. You move like someone who's trying not to fall through thin ice, but the ice is inside your lungs. The padding beneath, called a gambeson, is supposed to prevent chafing. It doesn't. It absorbs sweat and traps heat like a damp sponge taped to your skin. Within minutes, you're soaked. Not in glory in your own stink. Your armpits squelch. Your thighs burn. Your back itches in 3 places you can't reach. You'd give anything to scratch, or to breathe freely, or to sit down. But you can't, because your armor is also your prison. The moment you buckle in, you're committed. No quick undressing, no loosening a strap. You're sealed in. If you need to use the bathroom, too bad. If you cramp up, tough. If you collapse, good luck getting back up without help. And no one's helping you today. Your helmet is the worst. It's a metal bucket strapped to your head with a slit for vision and 2 pinholes for air. Your breath rebounds off the inside and fogs your face. You're panting now, and your own carbon dioxide feels like it's poisoning you. You can't hear clearly. Every shout echoes like thunder in a tin shed. You can't see your feet. You can barely see anything. And it smells like the last guy who wore it died slowly in it. That might be true. You try turning your head, nope. No neck movement. Just full body rotations like a confused statue. If someone runs at you from the side, you won't know until your teeth hit the mud. Assuming you still have teeth. Your gauntlets make it impossible to grip anything properly. Your fingers feel distant like they're working underwater. Your sword hilt is slippery with sweat. The leather wrap is worn smooth. You shift it from one hand to the other. No better. It's not a weapon, it's a liability. You try to walk faster. Bad idea. Your greaves pinch your calves. The straps cut into your thighs. You feel your skin blistering under the heat and friction. There's no adjusting. You just endure. Or you fall. Those are the options. And remember, you haven't even seen the enemy yet. You're exhausted, blind, deaf, sweating, sore, dizzy from heat, and already limping. And then your commander says the words you were dreading. Shields up. Close formation. Close formation. Sounds tactical. Feels claustrophobic. You're shoulder to shoulder now with other sweating men in mismatched armor. If one of you falls, you all fall. There's no space, no airflow, no escape. You're a wall and you better hold. But the worst part? This isn't even the heavy stuff. You're lightly armored a foot soldier, spare parts with legs. Somewhere behind you, the knights are tightening their saddles and adjusting their polished plate armor. Their gear fits better. It was made for them. Yours was handed down, stolen, scavenged, and it fits like a joke with sharp edges. Still, your job is to die slower than the man beside you. And if you think that's bleak, remember this. Armor can stop a blade, sometimes, but it can't stop a mace. Maces are made for you. Not to miss, to crush. Your ribs may not break the skin, but they'll crack inward. Your armor won't split, your bones will. A flanged mace hits your chest, and you'll feel it echo through your spine like lightning made of fire and vomit. And God help you if they have war hammers. They don't slice, they shatter. Helmets buckle like tin cans. Knees implode like rotten fruit. You may be fully armored, but you're still made of meat. And meat bruises. It breaks. It bleeds. You're sweating now, but not from the heat. You thought armor would make you feel safe. It makes you feel trapped, because the real enemy isn't just the one with the sword. It's your own body, which is about to betray you. And now, as the enemy line comes into view, snarling, armored, hungry, you're about to learn why that sword you're holding isn't just unhelpful. It's actively trying to get you killed. You grip the sword tighter. It doesn't help. Your forearm cramps. Your fingers start to go numb. The weight of the blade, barely noticeable in training, now feels like you're holding a sledgehammer by the wrong end. And you realize something terrifying. This sword was never made for you. It was made for someone stronger, someone trained, someone who's already dead. It's too long, too heavy, too slow, and it doesn't care about you. You try a few practice swings while the enemy closes in wide, clumsy arcs that tire you faster than they reassure you. You almost drop it on the third one. You tell yourself to calm down, to breathe. But there's no air under this helmet, just heat and pressure and the growing certainty that you're holding the thing that will get you killed. Because a sword in the wrong hands isn't a weapon, it's a liability. The enemy is closer now, not hundreds of faceless foes, but individual men, snarling, screaming, blades raised, and they are not tired. They are not scared. They are not figuring it out as they go. They know what they're doing. One has a battered axe in both hands, and the look of someone who's done this before many times. Another carries a spear and uses it like a surgeon uses a scalpel, jabbing and retreating, reading your stance, waiting for you to blink wrong. You don't know where to aim. You don't know how hard to swing. You don't even know if you'll land a hit. Because here's the truth about sword fighting that no one tells you. It's not duels. It's not choreography. It's not block and riposte or elegant stances. It's chaos. It's limbs, noise, blood, and mud. You raise your shield just in time. A sword clangs against it. The impact sends a shock up your arm that rattles your teeth. Your elbow screams. You twist instinctively and swing your own sword in a blind arc. It hits something or someone with a wet thunk. You don't know if it was a leg or an arm or a tree trunk. You hope it wasn't your friend, because you don't know where anyone is anymore. The formation is gone. Your unit, scattered. Men running, falling, bleeding. Some get back up, some don't. You duck another blow, slip on blood-slicked grass, and feel the edge of a sword glance off your shoulder plate. It deflects, barely. The pain still jolts you like lightning. You stumble forward and bring your blade down with both hands on someone's back. It hits with a sickening crunch. He goes limp. You don't feel heroic. You feel sick. You want to drop your sword. You can't, because another one's coming. A man, eyes wide, teeth bared, mace raised. He's aiming for your skull. You don't have time to block, but someone else does. A shield slams into him from the side your comrade. A man you barely know, shouting something you can't hear. The mace wielder falls. Your comrade doesn't wait. He's already turning, already facing another enemy. You're just standing there, still holding your sword like it means something. But here's the worst part. It's not just the killing. It's how fast it becomes normal. How quickly your instincts overtake your fear. How swinging that sword becomes mechanical, necessary. How you stop seeing faces and start seeing targets. You stab, you parry, you fall, you crawl, you rise again. And you don't even know who you are anymore. Because on a medieval battlefield, survival isn't about bravery. It's about dissociation. And even if you make it to the end of the day, sword-bloodied, arms shaking, you'll be someone else. A version of you didn't know existed. And one you might not want to meet. But before that moment comes, you still have to survive the cavalry charge. You hear it before you feel it. The distant thunder not from the sky, but from the earth. A low, rhythmic rumble that grows with every heartbeat. It sounds like the world itself is charging at you. You don't need anyone to tell you what it is. Cavalry. You turn, eyes wide behind your helmet. And there they are, black silhouettes rising through the fog, outlined against the haze, like demons on horseback, spears raised, pennants fluttering. Massive hooves hammering the mud, with a force that shakes your knees before they even reach you. Your captain yells, "Hold the line!" But you're not listening to him anymore, because your body is screaming louder. Every survival instinct you've ever had is now telling you to run. Leave the line, abandon the formation, dive into the bushes, fake your death. Anything but stay where you are. But you don't move. You can't. Because if you run, you die. You try to steady your shield. It's trembling in your hand. Your arm burns. You brace yourself, knees bent, back rigid, eyes locked on the coming storm. And then it hits. Not the cavalry, not yet. But the noise. The horses are so close now, the sound of their hooves is deafening. Mixed with the war cries of mounted knights, the shrieks of horses foaming at the bit, the sharp crossbows behind them. It's not sound anymore, it's pressure. It fills your helmet like thunder trapped in a jar. And then they're here. The first wave of riders smashes into the front line like a tidal wave of metal and flesh. The ground heaves. Shields explode under the weight. Men fly backward, crushed by hooves or trampled into the dirt. You're shoved sideways, almost lose your footing. The man to your left disappears under a horse. You see his arm flail once, then nothing. A lance thrusts at you, you raise your shield. The tip glances off, barely. It still knocks the wind out of you. You stagger backward, vision flickering. You can't hear anything but the blood in your ears. And then you see the horse. It's enormous, snorting steam, eyes wild. It barrels toward you, its rider raising a sword longer than your arm. You freeze. You can't move. You just lift your shield and hope. The impact is biblical. You're thrown sideways, landing hard on your ribs. Your sword goes flying. Mud fills your mouth. You can't breathe. Your shield is bent. Your shoulder screams in protest. But somehow, you're alive. You crawl, dragging your body like a broken puppet. Around you, chaos unfolds in slow motion. Horses rear, men scream, metal flashes. The line has dissolved. The plan, if there was one, is gone. You find your sword, grip it again. Blood or mud, you can't tell what's coating the handle. You rise to one knee, then to your feet. A rider wheels around to finish you. You dive aside. He misses. Just barely. The rider moves on. You blink, pant, stagger, and you realize something awful. That was just the first pass. They're circling back. You see them regrouping, lances reloaded, swords glinting. The second charge will be worse. You're not fresh meat anymore, you're tenderized. And they know it. You try to regroup with what's left of your unit, maybe a dozen survivors. You form a line again, loose, shaky, pathetic, but a line. And you brace. Because this is what cavalry does. They don't just break you, they loop back, again and again, like a butcher testing the edge of his blade. And you're the carcass. And if you think a sword's no good against a horse, wait until you meet the warhammer coming next. The second wave doesn't come from where you expect it. Not from the front, but from the side. You're still catching your breath, trying to find where the last of your unit ended up, when the air shifts. A roar rises from your right. Not horses this time, not arrows, just boots, metal, rage, heavy infantry. You turn just in time to see them barreling in not disciplined ranks, but a human avalanche. Faces grim, axes raised, war hammers gleaming. Their armor is thicker, better. Their strides more confident. They've done this before. And they see you exhausted, disoriented, clutching a dented shield and a sword you can barely lift as exactly what you are. A cleanup job. You try to react, but your legs betray you. They're shaking. Your shoulder is half dead from the cavalry hit. Your sword feels like welded to your palm. Your shield is splintered at the rim, bent inward like a crushed jaw. You raise it anyway, because that's all you can do. The first hammer comes down. It doesn't cut, it collapses. Your shield arm absorbs the blow, and your entire body jolts. It feels like being hit with a battering ram. You stumble backward, arm useless. The second blow catches your thigh. Your armor plate stops the break, but not the bruise. You scream. And screaming, in battle, is dangerous. Because it marks you as wounded. And wounded means vulnerable. A second man lunges forward. Axe low. You parry with your sword barely. The blades clash. Sparks fly. Your hand goes numb. You try to riposte, but your body is already slowing down. Everything aches. Everything burns. You don't think about dying. You think about collapsing. That would be easier. Just drop. Let it end. Maybe they'll think you're dead and move on. Maybe you'll fall face down and bite mud instead of a blade. Maybe you won't feel the rest. But then someone next to you goes down hard. A hammer cracks through his helmet like it's an eggshell. He twitches once, then stillness. And suddenly, you're angry. You swing wildly, not with technique, with spite. Your blade crashes into someone's shoulder. They grunt, stumble. Someone else charges. You raise your shield again, though it barely counts now. It deflects nothing. It's more hope than wood. Another hammer swings toward you and misses. You don't remember moving, but your ears are ringing now. Your mouth tastes like blood, and your knees, you can feel them softening. You try to shout something, anything, a warning, a curse. What comes out is a wheeze. And then you're on one knee again. Not out of choice, out of gravity. Your vision blurs. You're sweating through your gambeson. The padding feels like it's boiling you alive. Your helmet slides slightly sideways. You try to fix it, but your gauntlet fumbles with the strap. Too late. Another man spots you, a hammer in both hands. He's sprinting, mouth open in a silent war cry, eyes locked on yours. You brace. You lift your sword, but not fast enough. He swings down. You move just barely. The hammer crashes into your shoulder guard. You feel the metal dent, then the bone beneath it throb. Then your entire arm goes slack. You scream again. This time, the sound is raw, animal. You swing back, wild. It misses. He swings again. This time, someone else blocks it. You don't know who. You don't care. It buys you 2 seconds. You drop your sword. It's useless. You fumble at your belt, pull the dagger. Your hands are shaking. Your knees are locked. You stagger forward like a drunk, dagger outstretched. You stab. It connects. Somewhere soft. The man buckles. You don't wait. You shove. He falls. You fall with him. You both hit the ground, and you crawl away. Crawl through the legs of the fighting, through mud and blood and broken weapons, over someone's severed foot, under a fallen shield. You crawl not because you're a coward, because you're still alive. And all of this is just the beginning. Because in a medieval battle, the worst isn't the arrows, the swords, or the cavalry. It's what happens when the lines break, when formations collapse, when it becomes every man for himself. And if you thought dying was the worst part, wait until you see what they do to the wounded. You're not sure how long you've been crawling. Time stopped making sense somewhere between the second hammer blow and the moment you realized your mouth was full of someone else's blood. Your limbs are jelly, your helmet's twisted halfway around your face, your dagger is still clutched in your hand, but your fingers are locked stiff like rusted hinges. And then you stop, because you hear something new. Not screams, not steel, but silence. You risk a glance up, and you see it. The battlefield, if you can still call it that, has changed. There's no more charging, no more shouts, just the aftermath. The dust has settled, the sounds have faded, and what's left behind is the most dangerous part of the day. The looting. The men still moving aren't soldiers anymore, they're scavengers. They drift between the dead and dying like crows, pulling swords from limp hands, prying helmets off crushed skulls, cutting purses and rings from bloated fingers. You stay still. You've heard stories, what they do to the wounded. If they think you're still breathing, you're a threat, or worse, a source of profit. Maybe you've got a few coins sewn into your tunic. Maybe your boots will fetch a decent trade. Maybe they just don't like leaving witnesses. So you lie there, face down, dagger hidden, breathing shallow. A man walks past you, stops, kneels. He jabs at your side with a boot. You don't move. He mutters something you don't catch, bends down, starts tugging at your gauntlet. You twitch just slightly. He freezes, and then he pulls harder. You act fast, but not fast enough. You jab the dagger upward. He jerks back. It grazes his thigh. He screams and brings down a boot on your shoulder. The pain explodes in white light. You drop the dagger. Now he's on you. Punches flying, gauntleted fists smashing into your helmet. You cover your head, curl tight, wait for it to end. And then it does. Because someone else ends it for you. The man is yanked away. You hear a thud, then a grunt, then silence again. Another figure looms above you. You flinch, expecting more, but this one kneels. "You alive?" he says. You nod, barely. He doesn't help you up, just tosses something onto your chest, a water skin, then moves on. You don't know his name. You never will. And in another hour, he'll probably be dead too. But right now, he saved your life. You drink slow, choking, grateful. The water tastes like leather and smoke and maybe a hint of blood. But it's the sweetest thing you've ever had. You sit up. You see the battlefield in full now. A wreckage of men, horses, splintered weapons, discarded helmets. Some still twitch. Some still call for help. Others, most are silent. The air stinks of blood, piss, and fear. The kind of fear that lingers even after the fighting is done. And just when you think it's over, you hear it. Trumpets. In the distance, another army, another banner. And you realize, with a sinking heart, this wasn't the end. This was just the middle, because the battlefield doesn't belong to you. It belongs to whoever's still standing when the sun goes down, and there's still a lot of sun left. You try to stand, you regret it immediately. Your knees buckle, your vision spins. The world sways like a ship in a storm, and your ribs grind against each other in a way that makes you wonder if something inside is broken. It probably is. You don't care, because you have to move. The Second Army, whoever they are, is getting closer. You can't see them yet, but the trumpets are louder now. Clearer, organized. That alone is terrifying. A force arriving in formation after this kind of slaughter means one thing. They came late and they came ready. You stagger through the corpses. Some are strangers, some you recognize. That one with the missing boot, you shared breakfast with him. That one with the smashed helmet, you joked with him about the camp latrine. They're all the same now. You scavenge what you can. Another dagger, a fresher water skin, a helmet that isn't caved in. You try to feel bad about it. You fail. On a battlefield, morality is a luxury no one can afford. You're not a soldier anymore. You're a survivor, and you're not alone. Others move through the debris like ghosts, some wounded, some dazed, all clinging to scraps of armor and fading hope. You make eye contact with one. Neither of you speaks. There's nothing left to say. You keep moving, because you have to get off this field before the second wave hits. You don't even care who they are. Allies, enemies, it doesn't matter. If they see you, you'll be cut down anyway. War doesn't care about mistaken identity. It cares about momentum. You crest a small hill, if you can call it that. More of a mound of churned mud and shattered wood. From there, you see them. Marching. Banners high. Armor gleaming. Shields raised like teeth. They're advancing in perfect lines, trampling the last whispers of the first battle beneath their boots. And they haven't seen you yet. You drop flat, breathe through your teeth, and think. You could run, but your legs are noodles and your lungs are on fire. You could hide, but where? The bushes are full of bodies and arrows. You could pretend to be dead again. It worked once, but not if they check. You have one option. Get out before they get close enough to make decisions for you. You crawl again, slower this time. Every inch is a gamble. Every rustle might be the sound that gets you noticed. Your heart thuds like a drum. You're not sure if it's fear or blood loss. A shout rings out. Too close. You freeze. Footsteps pass by your left. You don't look. You don't breathe. You press your face into the mud and pray to a God you haven't spoken to in years. They move on. You wait. 1 minute, 2. Then you crawl again. And finally, you reach the tree line. It's not safety. It's not even shelter. It's just the absence of certainty. And right now, that's good enough. You collapse behind a root, hidden in shadow, gasping like a dying dog. Your arms shake. Your stomach turns. Your mind swims. And you realize something chilling. This was just one battle. One, and there are, or tomorrow, more the day after that. Because in the Middle Ages, war isn't a campaign. It's a lifestyle. And if you thought this was bad, wait until nightfall when the looters return. The wounded cry louder, and the rats come out to feast. Night doesn't fall on the battlefield. It bleeds. The sky darkens, not like a curtain being drawn, but like a wound seeping into fabric. Red to gray, gray to black. The smoke from fires long since burned out still lingers, curling in the air like dying breath. And the stench only deepens. Burnt flesh, open guts, rot beginning its work before the sun has fully set. You huddle under the twisted roots of an old tree just off the field, barely concealed by brush. You haven't moved in hours. Every part of your body aches, not sharp pain, but that deep, dull kind that hums through your bones like a warning. You're not fine. But you're not dead either, which is more than most can say. Out there, the field shifts again, not from marching armies, but from something worse. The pickers. They don't wear banners, don't fight for lords. They come after, always after. Stragglers from nearby villages, deserters, opportunists. They slink from corpse to corpse, slicing rings from fingers, boots from feet, even teeth from jaws. They laugh while they do it. You watch one man kneel beside a body and pry open its mouth with a knife. He chips out a gold tooth with the precision of a craftsman, pockets it, moves on. Another swings a satchel open and scoops in anything shiny. Broken sword hilts, belt buckles, fingers if the rings won't come loose. This isn't robbery, it's business. A third picker finds a man still alive, barely. His legs are gone. He reaches out weakly, eyes pleading. The picker doesn't hesitate. He drives a dagger through the man's chest and keeps walking. Lean, quick, silent. You go still. So still it hurts. You're not ready to die for a pair of boots. But the pickers don't find you. Not yet. Because you smell like mud and blood and terror. Because you're not worth the effort. Or because luck for once decides to flip a coin in your favor. They move on. And you breathe again. But not too deep. Because the field never rests. The rats come next. You hear them before you see them, the scratching, the gnawing, the squeals. A thick gray tide moving through the dark, guided by the scent of open bodies and spilled entrails. They don't fear you. They've learned that the ones who move are often too weak to stop them. You swat at one. It hisses, bites your hand before scurrying away. The wound stings. You don't look. You know what it means. Infection. And in this world, that's the same as a death sentence. But you're still here. And that means something. You curl tighter under your root. Your sword is gone. Your armor is dented. Your body is broken. But you are alive. And that is a small, defiant miracle. You wait for morning. Not because you think it will bring peace, but because the only thing worse than surviving one day on a medieval battlefield is surviving the next one. And tomorrow, the crows will fly in, and the bodies will be gone. But the war will still be here. Morning doesn't arrive gently. It punches through the mist, like a drunk slamming open a tavern door. No golden beams, no birdsong. Just light flat, cold, and unkind spilling across a field now transformed into a graveyard without graves. The crows have beaten the sun. You hear them before you see them dozens, maybe hundreds. Their calls echo over the field like laughter in a cathedral. They hop between corpses with practiced ease, tearing at faces, plucking out eyes, dancing in the rib cages of men who were shouting battle cries just yesterday. They're not afraid of you. Why would they be? You're barely alive. A bruised lump in a torn tunic. Mud-caked skin. Dried blood on your lips. A wound on your hand already red around the edges. You might be moving now, but in the grand accounting of nature, the crows have you marked as a future meal. You rise slowly. Everything hurts again, but differently now. It's not the sharp panic of the battlefield. It's the hollow ache of survival. The pain of realizing that the worst didn't kill you and now you have to keep going. You make your way through the ruins of men. It's quieter than you expect. Not because the field is empty, it's not, but because no one speaks. The living stagger in silence, too numb for words. A man with half an ear limps past you, carrying a severed arm like he doesn't even know it's not his. Another drags a shield behind him, face blank, eyes unfocused. No one meets your gaze. No one offers help. There's no brotherhood in the aftermath. Just ghosts in waiting. You spot a familiar face, or what's left of it. The man who shared your water 2 nights ago, his throat is open like a second mouth. Flies crawl along the edges. You look away before your stomach betrays you. And then you spot movement, not aimless, but purposeful. The corpse collectors. They come in carts pulled by tired mules. Ropes and hooks hanging from the sides. Faces wrapped in cloth, not for modesty, but for the smell. They don't cry. They don't hesitate. They toss bodies like firewood, stacking them high until limbs spill out over the sides. If you're lucky, they ignore you. If you're not, you've heard stories. Wounded men mistaken for dead, or maybe not mistaken. Maybe just inconvenient. One less mouth to feed. One less coin to pay. You don't make eye contact. You keep walking, not fast. Fast would draw attention. You move like a man with somewhere to go, even if you don't. Because now, the real challenge begins. Not surviving battle, surviving after. You're out of food. Your wound is festering. You have no coin, no rank, no shield. And war doesn't care. Because the battlefield was never the only enemy. There's hunger. There's infection. There's the cold creeping into your bones now that your gambeson is stiff with dried sweat and blood. There's the road stretching endlessly toward a village that might not even be there anymore. And worst of all, there's memory. Because your ears still ring. Your sleep will never be quiet again. And part of you, the part that screamed during that cavalry charge, the part that flinched under the hammer, that part of you didn't make it out. That part is still out there, somewhere in the mud, feeding the crows. And if you think you can shake it off, just wait until you try to sleep. You don't sleep that night. Not really. You close your eyes, sure, but rest doesn't come. Instead, your mind loops through the day on repeat the charge, the screaming, the hammer slamming into your shield like a thunderclap inside your skull. And the worst part? Your brain starts adding things. What if you had moved faster? What if you hadn't hesitated? What if the man next to you, the one with the spear through his chest, what if he'd lived and you hadn't? You lie awake in a barn outside a half-burned village. They didn't let you inside the main house. Said the place was full. Said you looked like trouble. They weren't wrong. So now you curl up next to a sack of grain and a pile of wet straw, bones aching, one hand pressed against the wound in your side. It's hot to the touch. Not a good sign. Outside, the wind howls through the cracks in the boards. A child cries. Somewhere distant, a dog barks, then stops. You try not to think about what silenced it. You doze for minutes at a time. And in those minutes, you dream. Not of home, not of peace, but of teeth, mud, the sound of hooves, the weight of armor dragging you downward. You dream in flashes, like lightning. When morning comes, you don't feel alive. You feel postponed. You rise stiffly. The barn stinks of old urine and damp wool. Your back is a latticework of bruises. Your hand, the one that got bit, is swollen now. Purple creeping beneath the skin like a bruise that's found a map and started traveling. You need a healer, or a priest, or both. But you have neither. Just your feet and the road. You set off before anyone else in the house can stop you. The village is silent, except for a blacksmith hammering something that doesn't look like a weapon. Everyone moves slowly, eyes averted. War has passed through here before, probably more than once. And now it's your turn to move through, like a ghost in someone else's tragedy. You find a path heading east. You don't know where it leads. You don't care, because forward is the only direction left. Every mile is pain. Your boots blister, your side burns. You piss blood at one point and laugh because it's either that or weep. You haven't eaten in over a day, haven't properly washed in longer. You smell like rust, horse, and rotting linen. And then finally you spot it. A camp. Small, makeshift, no banners, just fires and tents, men clustered around cookpots, a few sharpening blades, a woman stirring something in a blackened pot that smells like hope. You hesitate, because once you step into that ring of firelight, you're no longer just a survivor. You're a recruit, or worse, a replacement. But you step in anyway, because there's nowhere else to go. And as they look up as one man gestures you over, as another tosses you a rag to sit on, you realize something chilling. The war doesn't end. It just resets. And now you're part of the next story. The first thing they give you is stew. You don't ask what's in it. You don't want to know. It's hot, salty, tastes vaguely like boiled leather and onion skins. You eat anyway, because it's warm, because your teeth still work, because food is currency now, and someone just paid you in mercy. The second thing they give you is a place by the fire. Not close, just near enough to feel the edge of the heat. The men around it barely speak. A few glance up. One offers you a nod, not of welcome, but of recognition. He sees the dried blood on your sleeve, the mud on your boots, the way your hands shake when you hold the bowl. You've been through it. So has he. So have they all. It's not camaraderie. It's trauma by proximity. The third thing they give you, though, no one says it, is silence. No questions. No prying. No introductions. Because names don't matter here. Not yet. Not until you survive something together. The fire pops. Someone sharpens a blade with slow, deliberate strokes. Another man sews a tear in his tunic with fingers so gnarled it's like watching tree roots tie knots. You look at your hand, still swollen, still angry. You should probably cut it open, let it drain. But there's no clean knife, no clean water, no clean anything. So you wait. Because that's what life is now, waiting between horrors. Waiting for the next march, the next order, the next clang of steel that tells you you've lived one day too long. The man next to you leans in, finally breaks the silence. Fresh? You nod. He doesn't ask from where, or for who, or how many you lost. He just reaches into his coat, pulls out a scrap of cloth, and ties it around your bitten hand. Tight, not gentle, but helpful. You grunt in pain. He shrugs. Better it hurts now than kills you later. You don't thank him. He doesn't expect it. Because in this camp, kindness is like seasoning rare and used sparingly. You sleep by the fire that night. Sort of. The dreams return, of course, but they're softer now. Blurred. Less blood, more shadow. You see faces. Hear names you thought you'd forgotten. Your own voice yelling things your waking mind would never dare. You wake up before dawn. Everyone does. The fire's just embers now. Men are already moving, packing up gear, refitting armor, whispering prayers into their sleeves. You rise slowly. Your muscles scream. Your back has fused to the earth. Your stomach growls like something caged and furious. You're one of them now. No initiation. No oath. Just suffering. A grizzled man walks through camp, pointing. You, front line. You with the bow. You, new Facesling. He throws a rock-filled pouch at your chest. You catch it on instinct. It's heavier than it looks. You open your mouth to object. He's already gone. You don't get to choose your role here. The road ahead snakes through woods still damp from last night's rain. Leaves drip, mud clings. Somewhere far off, a crow caws. No one talks. No one sings. Because they know what's waiting. You tighten the sling around your wrist. It doesn't feel like a weapon, but it is. And you're holding it. You're part of the march now. And if you're lucky, you'll get to march again tomorrow. The march is slow. Not because the road is rough, though it is. Not because of rain, though the drizzle hasn't stopped since dawn. But because every man here knows what waits at the end of it, and none of them is in a hurry to meet it. The mud sucks at your boots like a second enemy. Every step is a tug of war. The trees press in tight. Mist curls low to the ground, ghosting over the trail, turning the world into a wet, gray dream where nothing feels real. No one speaks, except the sergeant. He's the kind who's been in too many battles and lived too long, which somehow makes him both fearless and constantly furious. He barks out orders, mostly to keep people moving. You barely understand half of it. Something about keeping rank. Something about not embarrassing yourself. But you don't need to understand. Just keep walking, keep breathing. Keep gripping the sling tight like it might somehow protect you from the future. Hours pass. Your hand throbs. The cloth wrap is soaked through, dark with pus and blood. You keep flexing your fingers to prove to yourself you still can. It's not convincing. And then, as the sun dips behind the hills, not quite setting, just retreating, the column stops. There's a hush. Not the tired silence of the march. A sharp, cold one. You feel it in your chest before you see it. The next battlefield. It opens before you like a scar. A wide, trampled field dotted with blackened trees and the remains of broken fences. On the far side, another army waits. Not charging, just standing, watching, like a reflection in some dirty mirror. Tents behind them, banners flapping, a line of pikemen already forming. You swallow. It feels like swallowing a stone. The sergeant walks past, shoves a helmet into your hands, points without looking. Archers behind the rise, slingers in the middle. Stay low, throw fast. That's it. No speech, no glory, no prayers, just orders. You take your place among the others. Nobody looks at you. Everyone's too busy tying on makeshift armor, checking rocks, whispering to whatever gods still listen to men like this. You crouch behind a crooked log. The sling is in your hand. You scan the field. It's quiet, too quiet. And then the horn, a long droning note that sounds like the earth groaning. And suddenly, the enemy moves. Slowly at first, then faster. Shields come forward, spears lower, and behind them, rows of men angry, armored, alive. This is it. Your fingers tighten. You swing the sling once, twice. Let it fly. The stone arcs high, too high. It lands somewhere behind their line with a thud no one hears. A miss. Doesn't matter. You grab another and another. The world narrows. Not to the whole battle, just to the rock, the throw, the next heartbeat. The screaming starts. You throw again, and again, and again, until your arm burns, until your fingers bleed, until the enemy is so close you can see the whites of their eyes and the mud on their boots. And then, the order you feared most. Slingers, fall back. You don't question it. You turn. You run. Arrows hiss past. One finds the man beside you. He drops without a sound. You keep running, because if you stop now, you're part of the mud, part of the past. Your legs are weak. Your breath rasps. Your hand pulses with infection. But somehow, you make it behind the line. You drop to your knees, gasping. And then the sound of steel hitting steel. The melee has begun. You look down at your sling, and for the first time you think, I might not make it through this one. But you rise anyway, because you have to. The first scream is cut short. That's how you know it's real. Not the long theatrical kind you've heard in tavern songs, no drawn-out wails or dying declarations. Just a grunt, a thud, and silence. Like a story being ripped from the page mid-sentence. You're behind the line now. Not because you're supposed to be slingers, don't last long in close combat, but because you ran. Because the sergeant said to, because if you hadn't, you'd already be face down in the muck with a spear through your gut. But safety doesn't exist here. The line buckles. Not all at once. It folds like wet parchment, slow at first. Then with terrifying speed, you see men drop their shields, hear the crunch of armor breaking under axes. Watch a knight or someone dressed like one fall to his knees, clutching his stomach as something vital spills out. A man crashes into you, back first, knocking you down. He's bleeding from the face, eyes wild. You try to help him up. He shoves you away. He's not looking for help. He's looking for somewhere to die alone. You stagger back to your feet. Your sling is gone. It doesn't matter. You grab a broken spear shaft from the mud. It's splintered at one end, jagged and ugly. No blade, just wood. and willpower. And then the line shatters. The enemy pours through like water through a cracked dam. There's no more formation, no more tactics. Just chaos, no reason, no rhythm, just survival. A man charges at you. Not a knight, not even armored. Just a boy, really. Could be 15. His sword is too heavy for him, swinging low and wild. You dodge without thinking, trip, land hard. Mud in your mouth, you roll, scramble. He's over you now. You thrust upward with the shaft blind, desperate, and feel it sink into something soft. He makes a sound, half surprise, half pain. He stumbles backward. You don't watch him fall. You can't. You're up again, moving. Not toward anything, just away from the blades, from the screams, from the line that no longer exists. You slip through clusters of bodies, some fighting, some falling, some already still. Your foot catches on a corpse. You go down again. This time, you stay down, because there's a pile forming a hill of men and iron and blood. And under it, there's a kind of safety. Not real safety, but enough. You crawl beneath a dead horse. Its belly is burst open, steaming. The stink is unbearable. You retch, then gag again. But you're hidden, mostly. You press your face into the wet earth and shake. You don't cry. There's no energy left for that. Only fear. Only exhaustion. You lose track of time. Could be minutes. Could be hours. The screaming slows. The metal stops clashing. The ground stops shaking. Silence returns. Not peace, just absence. You crawl out. Slowly. The field is unrecognizable. A storm of limbs and flags and twisted steel. Men stagger like drunks. Some pray, some scream. Some sit quietly and bleed out without a sound. You walk, not to escape, just to move. A man sits against a tree, cradling his guts in his lap like something precious. Nods as you pass. You nod back. You think of the boy with the sword. You don't know if he died. You don't know if it matters. You find your way to a ditch, collapse, stare at the sky. It's blue. Stupidly, defiantly blue. Like the world doesn't know what just happened. Like it doesn't care. And maybe it doesn't. You survived. Today. But tomorrow? There's another field. Another enemy. Another march. And your hand, the one you used to kill, is shaking again. At first, you think the pounding is in your head. The echo of battle, maybe. A phantom drumbeat stitched into your skull from the rhythm of hoofbeats and heartbeats and hammer blows. But then you realize, it's real. It's footsteps. Boots. Not one or two. Many. Marching in rhythm. You lift your head from the ditch. Your neck cracks. Your vision blurs. But through the reeds and the haze of smoke still drifting from the battlefield, you see them. A new column. Not the enemy. Not exactly allies either. They wear the same colors, carry the same banners, but they're clean, organized, a fresh division. Late to the fight, or maybe just right on time to clean up. They pass you like you're invisible. Some glance down. Most don't Materdings 59. You're not a soldier to them. You're scenery. Another leftover from yesterday's slaughter. One man a captain. Maybe pauses. Looks at your face. And then, just like that, moves on. You lie back down. Because what are you supposed to do now? The battle is over. But the war isn't pop. And you don't even know which war you're in anymore. The one with swords and banners? Or the one inside you? The one that started the moment you first saw a man die by your hand. You're given no time to decide. A pair of hands grabs you under the arms. You panic kick, thrash. A voice hisses. Stop that. You're lucky we saw you. Two soldiers, young, not much older than you. They hoist you up like luggage. Sling your arm over a shoulder. You don't know their names. They don't ask yours. You're weight to them. Bloodied weight. They carry you to the cart. It's full already. Bodies, mostly. Some moaning. Some not. One of the men gestures. Sit or fall. Your choice. You sit. Because what else is left? The cart rolls over the churned field. Each jolt shoots fire through your side. Your vision darkens around the edges. You try to stay upright, but your body leans, tilts, collapses. Darkness rises. And then, dreams. Not of the battlefield. Not of swords. Of rain. Of silence. Of sitting under a tree as a child, watching ants carry crumbs to a nest. That's the dream. It makes you weep in your sleep. When you wake, it's dusk again. A camp this time. Not the same one. A medical tent, if you can call it that. More like a canvas lean-to with blood-stained cots and a smell that makes you want to crawl out of your own skin. A priest hovers nearby, muttering Latin over a man missing half his face. Another man screams as something is sawed. You sit up. Your side protests. But you're alive. Barely. A woman in a blood-splattered apron approaches. Drink. She doesn't ask. She just hands you something warm, sour, and herbal. You drink. Because you can't afford not to. She lifts the bandage on your hand. Hisses through her teeth. Well, she mutters. At least it's not black yet. She moves on. You lie back again. The stars appear, one by one. And in that moment, you finally understand. The battlefield is never just a place. It's a season. And once it finds you, it doesn't let go. Even if you leave. Even if you survive. Because the war changes you. Wounds you in places no blade can reach. And the worst part? It doesn't end. Not when the fighting stops. Not even when you die. Because the war lives on. In memory. In dreams. In the way your hand still curls into a fist while you sleep. In the way your breath quickens at thunder. In the way you no longer look at people, but through them. You didn't survive the battlefield. You became it. The next day, no one tells you what to do. There's no bell, no horn, no shouted orders. Just the quiet bustle of camp life, what passes for it, anyway. Men moving like shadows, slow, limping. Not from laziness, but because that's what their bodies now are. Stitched, together regrets with legs. Your hand is stiff, wrapped tight in linen that smells like wine and rot. You sit up on the cot. A man across from you is missing half his leg. He's awake, staring at nothing. Another man sleeps curled around his helmet like a child with a stuffed animal. No one talks. Not in here. Eventually, someone hands you bread. Stale. Hard. You dunk it in a bowl of watery broth just to soften it. It still crunches like gravel. You eat anyway. Because food means you're still a person. Sort of. A runner arrives. Young boy, barely grown. He mutters a name. Not yours. Someone else gets up, slowly, wobbly, and walks out to meet their next assignment. That's how it works now. They don't bark orders. They whisper them. Because shouting feels disrespectful. Like yelling at someone who's already halfway into the grave. You wait, but your name never comes. Not that day, not the next. Maybe they forgot you, or maybe they think you're not worth the effort. Either way, you're invisible again. You find a spot by the fire pit outside the tent. It's cold, but there's no firewood, just ash, just smoke that isn't really smoke, just memory. You sit, and you watch. You watch as the new recruits arrive. Fresh armor, clean boots, hope in their eyes. You hate them instantly. Not because they're young, not because they're eager, but because they remind you of yourself. The self that hasn't been crushed under the weight of a single bad hour, stretched into eternity. One of them glances your way, starts to wave, then sees the bandage, the vacant stare, thinks better of it. You want to tell him something, warn him. But what would you say? That the worst part isn't the battle? It's what comes after. The quiet, the waiting, the realization that everything you thought was noble or glorious or heroic was just noise, just a lie wrapped in iron and fear. Number. He wouldn't listen. No one ever does. So you sit and you wait. And when they finally call your name, days later, it doesn't feel like a summons. It feels like an execution. They hand you a new tunic, still damp. They give you a shield, scuffed. They ask if your hand works. You nod. They don't check, because it doesn't matter. What matters is that you can walk. And if you can walk, you can fight. You rejoin the line. Different faces. Same path. Same mud. Same death. It's another battlefield now. You'll never remember the name. Just the taste of blood in your mouth when the charge begins. Just the sound of someone screaming your name who didn't even know it yesterday. Just the moment you raise your shield and wonder, not for the first time, if this is finally the end. The charge isn't like the stories. There's no banner waving majestically in the wind, no slow-motion gallop toward glory, no music swelling in the background. It's a mess. A terrifying, stomping, screaming mess. You're not even sure when it starts. One moment, the sergeant is muttering something about holding the flank. The next, the man beside you is running. Then another. Then you. You don't choose to move. The line moves, and you get dragged with it. The mud tries to hold you back, but adrenaline pulls harder. Your shield bounces against your ribs. Your weapon, some blunt, rusted thing that was handed to you 5 minutes ago, feels like dead weight. And in front of you, a wall of men you're supposed to kill. You don't think about who they are, where they're from, why they're here. Because if you think you freeze, so you run. And when you reach them, it doesn't feel like impact. It feels like swallowing thunder. The noise is unbearable. Steel on steel. Steel on flesh. Flesh on ground. You swing, miss, swing again. Something connects. You don't know what. A man lunges at you or stumbles. It's hard to tell. You bash him with your shield. Not because it's a tactic, because it's all you have. He falls, or maybe slips. You don't wait to find out. You keep moving. Everywhere you look, there's chaos, no order, no formation, no plan. Just instinct. A spear clatters near your foot. You snatch it, hurl it blind. You'll never know if it hit. You duck. A sword whistles past where your neck used to be. You drop to your knees. Mud surges into your boots, your mouth, your soul. Someone grabs you from behind. You twist, scream, slam the butt of your weapon into their face. They fall. You realize too late they were on your side. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. This isn't a fight. It's a storm. A living storm made of limbs and rage. And you're not winning it. You're surviving it. Barely. Your ears ring. Your hand bleeds. Your vision swims. Someone shouts to fall back. You can't even tell if they're on your side. You stagger, turn, move toward the sound, any sound that isn't steel or screaming. You trip, go down hard, face in the mud again. That's where you belong now, down here, with the worms and the blood. You curl up, shield over your back, waiting for a blow that never comes. And when it's finally quiet, when the ringing in your ears fades and the only sound is wind moving through grass that wasn't here an hour ago, you lift your head. You're alive. Somehow, the field is littered. Bodies, shields, a lost boot, a horse with no rider, chewing aimlessly near a corpse. And you, still breathing. You sit up. That's all you can do. Sit. No cheers, no trumpets, no victory. Just survival. The only reward you get. And somehow that has to be enough. There's a numbness that sets in after battle. Not the numbness of painkillers, because there aren't any. Not the numbness of sleep, you won't be getting that either. It's something deeper. A stillness in your bones. Like your body is waiting for the next hit before it decides to care again. You stand slowly. Your legs protest, but they hold. You look around. The sun is setting, low and blood orange. It paints the field in a color too close to the real thing. The mud's no longer just mud. It's a stew of blood, piss, and whatever the butchered body becomes when it mixes with earth. You shuffle forward, step over a helmet, a hand, a face. You don't look down anymore. It's safer not to. At the far edge of the field, a few other survivors gather. No one talks. They sit in a circle, not touching, just breathing in the same direction. You walk past them, not because you're better, but because you can't sit down again. You know that if you do, you won't get back up. A horse limps nearby, riderless, its eyes wild but empty, like it saw too much and understood just enough to break something inside. You feel the same. A boy, maybe 13, is trying to clean his blade with a piece of torn cloth. His hands shake. The blade isn't bloody. It never was. But he cleans it anyway. Over and over. Like maybe if it shines, he won't have to use it again. You keep walking. You don't know where the camp is, or if there even is one. But your feet carry you, one in front of the other. It's the only thing they know how to do now. Eventually, you reach a rise, a shallow hill. You climb it and then stop. Below, another field, another column of troops, and another flag one you don't recognize. Enemy? Ally? Does it even matter anymore? You slump to your knees. This isn't a story with acts and endings. It's a loop, a wheel. Every battle ends where the next one begins. You think about dropping your weapon, just leaving it in the dirt and walking away. But walk where? To what? The war isn't just in the fields anymore. It's in your bones, your breath, your dreams. Even peace would feel like a lie now. A trick your brain plays while your body waits for the next scream. So you stand. You adjust your gear. You step back into the rhythm. Because in this world, surviving means surrendering to repetition. And your feet, traitorous, loyal things, already know the path. They say the worst part is the fighting. But they're wrong. It's the waiting. The hours between battles when nothing happens and everything does. When the silence stretches so thin you can hear the thoughts you've been trying to bury scratch their way to the surface. You're back in camp now, if you can call it that. It's not much more than a series of tents half sunk in mud, pitched around a dwindling fire pit and the smell of old death. Someone strung a tarp between two wagons. That's the mess hall. Someone else built a latrine with 3 boards and a prayer. You eat what they hand, you a gray slop that doesn't taste like food but passes for it. You sleep on hay that crackles when you move, swarming with lice. You wait for orders, for another march, for the scream that signals you're under attack. The man next to you used to talk. He doesn't anymore. Not since the last skirmish, when a man in front of him stepped on a caltrop and went down screaming, only to be trampled by his own line. Now the man just stares at his hands and whispers things to the ground. You don't ask what he's saying. You don't want to know. The new recruits, the ones who arrived yesterday, still ask questions, still polish their gear, still joke. You ignore them. They'll learn. Or they won't. Either way, the war will teach them. And it won't be gentle. At night, the stars come out. And for a second, just a second, you remember there's a sky above all this. That somewhere, beyond the fog of this endless blood-soaked chessboard, people are living lives untouched by it. Children sleep without fear of arrows. Women bake bread without flinching at thunder. Old men die in beds, not in ditches. And for a moment, you let yourself wish you were one of them. But that's dangerous. Wishing, it leads to hope. And hope is the sharpest blade on the field. Because when it breaks, and it always does, it cuts deeper than steel ever could. You roll over, try to sleep. But your body's not tired in the right way. Your bones ache, your muscles throb, but your mind, it races, reliving every blow, every mistake, every scream that sounded too familiar. You stare into the dark and wonder, if the fighting ever stops, will you still know who you are? Or are you already lost? A shadow in a borrowed tunic, a blade with legs, a ghost who hasn't noticed he's dead yet. You close your eyes, not to rest, but to disappear, just for a little while. Morning doesn't come like a sunrise. It comes like a shove. Someone kicks your boot, not hard, just enough to say, move. You sit up. Every joint cracks. Your mouth tastes like rust and old wool. Your back is a single bruise. You don't speak. Neither does anyone else. The orders are simple. March. Where? Doesn't matter. Your legs know what to do. Your boots find the rhythm. Your shoulders fall into line. You're just another piece of the war now. A shape among shapes. A step among thousands. The road is dirt. The air smells like wet leaves and iron. Somewhere in the trees, a crow caws. You don't look up. You don't look at anything. Eyes down. Mouth shut. The man in front of you coughs. A wet, hacking thing. Probably trench lung. Or plague. Or just the world trying to pull him under. No one offers help. Not because they're cruel, but because help is a luxury no one can afford. There's a hill ahead. Steep. Your calves scream the whole way up. At the top, you pause. The view should be beautiful rolling green fields, sun spilling across farmland. But all you see is distance. And a line of smoke curling from a village that wasn't burning yesterday. Another target. Another day. Another story you won't live long enough to tell. You descend into the valley. The mud is thicker here. At some point, your boot gets stuck. You yank. It comes loose, but you fall. Right into the muck. Someone laughs. Quiet. Not cruel, just tired. You pull yourself up. Wipe your hands on a tunic already soaked in blood, rain, and something you hope was just horse piss. By noon, the sun is directly overhead. You stop briefly to drink from a stream. The water tastes like iron, but you drink. Because thirst hurts worse than fear. A scout rides past, his horse spooked, eyes wide, sweat on the saddle. He doesn't say anything, doesn't have to. The veterans know that look. You're near the front again, near the edge. Near the next place, you'll either kill or die. The sergeant gathers the line. His voice is low, calm. This'll be quick, he says. If you're lucky, no one laughs. You check your gear. Sword, shield, a sliver of bread in your pouch. You look at your hands. The cuts are healing crooked. Your knuckles swollen. Your fingernails black with grime. You wonder, are these still your hands? Or do they belong to the war now? You form up. Your heart doesn't pound anymore. It just ticks. A slow, tired rhythm. You march. And ahead, through the trees, comes the first glint of metal. Another army. Another battle. Another chance to disappear. The two sides face each other across a narrow field. No speeches, no duels, no time for that. This isn't a storybook. It's a slaughterhouse with a sunrise. You shift your feet in the dirt. It's soft, too soft, good for planting crops, terrible for standing your ground. A light mist clings to the earth, as if the ground itself is trying to hide what's about to happen. The order comes. Advance. You move. Not because you want to, because the man behind you will push if you don't. The enemy line does the same. They're close enough now to see faces, some old, some barely more than boys, some twisted with rage, some pale with fear. You tighten your grip on the hilt. It's slick, with sweat, or rain, or maybe both. A man shouts something beside you. You don't catch the words, because the charge begins. You sprint, or stumble, It doesn't matter how you move, only that you're moving forward. The gap closes. Steel rings. Then impact. A wall of bodies. You don't swing with grace. You flail. You hammer. You bash. Your shield crunches against a man's face. You feel his nose break, then his knees give out. Someone grabs your arm. You twist. Elbow. Scream. There's blood. You don't know whose. You keep moving. You lose your footing, fall, scramble, rise, swing again. A sword clips your helmet. Your ears ring. Your vision flashes white. But you're still upright. That's what matters. A young soldier rushes you. Too eager. Too fast. You sidestep. He trips. You strike him in the back. He drops. You don't look. Can't. The field is narrowing. You're being pressed shoulder to shoulder, barely enough room to swing. Someone near you falls and doesn't get up. You step over them. Because if you don't, you're next. Your arms ache. Your mouth is dry. And still, the enemy keeps coming. The line bends. Not theirs. Yours. You hear a horn. Faint. Reinforcements? Retreat? You don't know. You don't care. You just want this to stop. But it won't. Not today. Not here. Another man lunges. You parry. Riposte. Your blade catches in his mail. You rip it free, leaving a tear and a scream. You're not fighting for glory anymore. You're fighting for seconds. For breath. For the chance to see one more sunrise. Then finally, the line breaks. Not yours. Theirs. They run. Not all, but enough. Your side surges. You follow. Not out of hate. Not out of victory. Just momentum. You chase. You strike. You survive. Barely. And when the field is quiet again, when the last screams fade, and the birds remember how to sing you stop, you fall to your knees. You drop the sword. You breathe. Because for now, you're alive. But something inside you isn't, and that too is a kind of victory. When it's over, you don't feel relief. You feel blank. The world moves around you, but you're still somewhere in the mud, waiting for the blow that never came. Others walk past, some cheering, some silent. A few are limping, helping each other. A few are carried. You rise slowly. Everything hurts, but in that distant way, like it's happening to someone else's body. You walk toward the remains of the field, not out of duty, out of habit, out of something deeper in instinct to scan the wreckage. The ground is a patchwork of armor, limbs, and churned soil. A horse lies twisted, legs snapped backward. A helmet rests in the dirt, still holding part of someone's head. There's a smell now, not just blood. It's sour, tangy. The stink of opened bodies and something worse, the stuff you're not supposed to smell while still breathing. The medics are at work, if you can call them that. Old men with knives and iron tools, hacking off limbs to save lives. There's no screaming anymore, just moaning, whimpering, shallow, hopeless sounds. You help where you can. Hold someone's hand while they die. Carry someone to a cot. Drag what's left of someone else to the pyre. Because burial? That's for nobles. The rest get burned or buried shallow, if they're lucky. You return to your tent, or what's left of it, Someone took your bedroll. Doesn't matter. You sit on the cold ground and stare at your hands. They don't look like yours anymore. You remember when they held a pen, a wooden spoon, someone else's hand. Now, they shake when they're still. They're steady only when killing. Across the camp, a group of boys' fresh replacements are laughing about something. You don't hate them. You envy them. That they still think this is something to joke about. That they haven't yet learned what it takes from you, inch by inch. You close your eyes. Not to sleep. You won't sleep. Not truly. Not without the screams creeping back into your head, but to shut out the light, to pretend for a moment that this is over, that you survived something, that you're not just waiting for the next battlefield, because you are. You always are. And the worst part? A piece of you doesn't want peace anymore, because you wouldn't know what to do with it. When it's over, you don't feel relief. You feel blank. The world moves around you, but you're still somewhere in the mud, waiting for the blow that never came. Others walk past, some cheering, some silent. A few are limping, helping each other. A few are carried. You rise slowly. Everything hurts, but in that distant way, like it's happening to someone else's body. You walk toward the remains of the field, not out of duty, out of habit, out of something deeper in instinct to scan the wreckage. The ground is a patchwork of armor, limbs, and churned soil. A horse lies twisted, legs snapped backward. A helmet rests in the dirt, still holding part of someone's head. There's a smell now, not just blood. It's sour, tangy. The stink of opened bodies and something worse, the stuff you're not supposed to smell while still breathing. The medics are at work, if you can call them that. Old men with knives and iron tools, hacking off limbs to save lives. There's no screaming anymore, just moaning, whimpering, shallow, hopeless sounds. You help where you can. Hold someone's hand while they die. Carry someone to a cot. Drag what's left of someone else to the pyre. Because burial? That's for nobles. The rest get burned or buried shallow, if they're lucky. You return to your tent, or what's left of it. Someone took your bedroll. Doesn't matter. You sit on the cold ground and stare at your hands. They don't look like yours anymore. You remember when they held a pen, a wooden spoon, someone else's hand. Now, they shake when they're still. They're steady only when killing. Across the camp, a group of boys' fresh replacements are laughing about something. You don't hate them. You envy them. That they still think this is something to joke about. That they haven't yet learned what it takes from you, inch by inch. You close your eyes. Not to sleep. You won't sleep. Not truly. Not without the screams creeping back into your head, but to shut out the light, to pretend for a moment that this is over, that you survived something, that you're not just waiting for the next battlefield, because you are. You always are. And the worst part? A piece of you doesn't want peace anymore, because you wouldn't know what to do with it. Night falls hard after an ambush. No fire tonight, it'd draw attention. No songs. No stories. Just the sound of men breathing like they're afraid the dark might hear them. You lie under a tree, knees pulled to your chest, cloak wrapped tight. You can feel your heartbeat in your teeth. Somewhere out there, someone is dying slower than they should. You can't help. You can't even look. The medics have stopped moving. They've done all they can. And you? You stare at the canopy overhead. It doesn't look like the sky. It looks like a roof of blades, like it's waiting to fall. Your hands shake. Not from cold, not from hunger, from something else. The kind of fear doesn't pass when danger does, because you know it's not over. It's never over. You close your eyes and see the ambush again. The man you killed, the sound he made, the look he gave you, not of hatred, but of surprise. Like he didn't expect it to be you. Neither did you. You try to breathe steady. In, out, in, out. But it doesn't work. Your chest is a cage now. Your thoughts the prisoner. You want to cry, but the tears won't come. They're buried too deep, under mud and blood and layers of survival that don't leave room for softness. Someone nearby is praying. The words are low, broken. You don't join in. You don't know what to believe anymore. But you listen, because there's comfort in hearing a voice that still wants to speak. Eventually, you sleep. Sort of. It's not rest. It's a drift. A slide into a place where dreams are worse than memories, because at least memories end. Your dream is fire. A village. You're running, but not fast enough. You wake just before you die. Again, and again, and again. Morning breaks, and the world is quiet. Too quiet. No birds, no wind, just fog, and the officer's voice cutting through it like a blade. Up, we move at dawn. You stand, because that's what you do, because it's the only thing left, and because the war hasn't decided you're done yet. You're not sure how long you've been marching. The days blur like footsteps into mud. They don't feel separate anymore. Just one long, gray smear. Sometimes you try to count them, then you stop. Because numbers don't matter here. Only whether your legs still move. The terrain changes from forest to field, then to rocky hills that chew through boots and twist ankles like twigs. You don't complain. No one does. Complaints don't fix your feet, or mend your blisters, or bring back the man who collapsed 3 miles back and never got up. You see a town in the distance. Small, wooden, smoky. You don't know its name. You won't remember it anyway. Just another dot on the map that the war has circled in blood. You're told to prepare, not in words, but in tone. The way the sergeant adjusts his sword belt, the way the medic quietly unwraps fresh linen, the way the cooks ladle out double rations. You know what it means. This might be the last meal some of you eat. You chew slowly, trying to memorize the texture, trying not to think about the people who lived in that town, or the fire you'll be lighting soon. Your unit advances at dusk. Shields up, eyes low. Every boot step is deliberate. Because this isn't a battle. This is a purge. You breach the outer wall. It's barely a fence. No one resists. Most have already fled. The few who remain look at you with eyes full of things you don't want to name. You push forward, search every home, torch the ones deemed a risk. What does that mean? You don't ask, because asking means thinking, and thinking gets people killed. Later, you sit beside a well and watch the smoke rise. Children cry somewhere behind you. You flinch, but you don't move. You've done what was ordered. And what was ordered is what's right. Isn't it? The officer claps you on the back. Clean work, he says. You nod. You don't feel clean. You feel like a knife that's been used too often. Sharp, bloody, and starting to rust. That night, the firelight paints the town in shades of guilt. The men drink. Some laugh. You stay quiet. You're thinking about the woman in the doorway who didn't run, who just stood there and looked at you, not with fear, but with pity that somehow cuts deeper than any blade. You lie on your back, the stars above you, cold, unblinking, and for the first time in days, you feel something crack inside. Not break, just shift, like a stone giving way beneath your foot. You don't cry. There's nothing left to pour out. You just lie there, hands crossed on your chest, and wonder, when did I stop being afraid of dying? And why does that scare me more than anything? So, you've made it through the blood, the mud, the steel, and the silence. You've marched through fields soaked in memory, past men broken not by blades but by the weight of surviving. And now, here you are, alone with your thoughts, your scars, and your sword still warm from the last time you had to use it. But here's the truth. You weren't supposed to survive this. Not just the battles, the waiting, the marching, the screaming that doesn't come from mouths, but from inside your own ribs when the world goes quiet again. You weren't supposed to come back from that. Most didn't. Some did, but not all of them stayed whole, or sane, or even human. Because a medieval battlefield doesn't just try to kill you. It tries to unmake you, turn you from a person into a part of the machine, a weapon with legs, a memory with blood on its hands. And if you're lucky, if you're very lucky, you get to leave with your body mostly intact. But your soul? Well, that's another story. So next time you read about chivalry, about knights in gleaming armor and glorious last stands, remember the rot under the glory. Remember the filth, the panic, the sound of bones breaking under boots. Remember how it smelled, how it tasted, how close death sat beside you, not just once, but always. Because now you've seen it. You've walked where they walked. And you know, in your gut, your spine, your bones, you wouldn't have lasted a day on a medieval battlefield. And that's nothing to be ashamed of. It's something to be grateful for.